Hello and welcome to FiveWhoFans. I'm Billy Treacy. This is John Gransden. That's Daniel Sherratt. And we are joined this week by Christopher Johnson.
Hello. Sorry, I was on my phone at the top. I feel ignorant.
No, it's okay. You're fine. So today we're going to be talking about Rosa. We thought it was very appropriate to have four white boys talking about this episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
First off, let's just go around. Initial thoughts of the episode.
Should we start from that side first?
Yeah, let's go for it.
I really liked it. I didn't know what to expect. I was a little bit nervous, but I think it handled things pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
It was also really funny. I think it's probably the funniest episode we've had. I think it's the episode where I think maybe Yaz again, but I feel like even Yaz has had a little bit more. Still the least, but I think it feels like everyone was important in that episode.
Yeah.
Whereas with maybe the previous two, people just sort of stood back and just some people just didn't do things. Whereas it felt like everyone had a job to do, and I think that was really good just to see the team sort of figuring out what to do. And I think the villain was handled a lot differently to how I thought it would be. I quite like that he's just meddling instead of right out trying to kill her. I think that's just a little less, like, it could have gone like a bit too maybe severe. So I think I'm glad that they've done that. And yeah, I think overall a really great episode, some great music again, maybe a little loud in places. I thought the music was quite loud sometimes. That's just a little thing, but I thought it was good music. But there's sometimes where it's like I can hardly hear what people are saying sometimes. And it's like I really have to listen in. But apart from that, really, really strong episode. In terms of a story, probably the best one we've had this series.
I think no hyperbole here, but this is also, take with a pinch of salt. This is feelings immediately after watching the episode. But that's why it's important, because it's how I'm feeling right now as soon as it's finished. And we've not discussed this prior to pressing record. I think that was possibly the strongest episode of the show in 8 years. There are episodes, of course, I've enjoyed over the last 8 years and everything, and I'm a massive fan of the previously mentioned Vincent and the Doctor because of the way that story's handled, and the story of a historical figure, and the story about how it handles depression, and it's done so well, and the monster is it's done well enough, but it's superfluous because it's not the focus. It's a storytelling device to help tell this story, as was in this. Our future racist man was not really, meant to be like an event villain. He was there to service the story and what the story means to history. I love historicals from the 60s, from Hartnell's run. I love the historicals. We don't really get many that are since then, apart from Black Orchid, which are just historical where the alien threat isn't big. It's such a rare thing where the sci-fi element is really small, at least visually. There's not big. There wasn't a giant squid running down the street with ray guns. We're like, I will kill Rosa Parks. It was a human looking threat, and it was a very disturbingly human and real point of view he was bringing into it that exists, and quite rightly he's a villain for having that point of view because what a disgusting person. But it meant visually again. It's like Marvel movies, isn't it? The first Marvel movie in the MCU stuff, the villain's usually superfluous because we're here to get to know the central characters and the central dilemma. I think Rosa was beautifully cast. I think the surprise extra historical figure that made an appearance was very nicely done. I would have liked to have seen the phone conversation with Elvis.
Yes.
And Frank Sinatra. Do they use FaceTime? Do they get good Wi-Fi in the 50s? How does that work? Or have they just got one of those Nokia 3310s that Rose had? This was amazing, and I really, really loved it. And Yaz and Ryan were wonderful, and the Doctor was amazing, and Graham is the best thing about the show.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. You're tapping with this.
It's got a lot of
pent up energy.
Pent up energy, yeah.
I was very nervous about this episode. I think it's fair to say that none of us
That's
were.
louder than I thought you said.
See, this is
payback.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
got
gotta
to
go in
you,
now.
John. You're loud sitting.
I think it's fair to say that us four, at any rate, in our schooling, were not taught anything about Rosa Parks. The only thing I knew about Rosa Parks before this episode was that she sat in a bus one time. And that was in a 20-minute assembly at one point in my life. That was it. And I know more about her obviously now as I'm a grown man and I should know these things and I've learned things through osmosis. So going into this I was very nervous. I was petrified. I honestly thought this might be an episode that will kill it. I don't know why I didn't have more faith in like Mallory Blackman being the kind of main writer, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Obviously.
That was a gigantic factor in why this worked really, really well.
I feel like totally, yeah. And just all in all, within 5 minutes, all of my concerns were releasing, and as the episode went on, it did twists on what I expected it to do. And I was like, oh, that's so much better. Like instead of the doctor or someone saying to Rosa, you should sit on a bus, it was Graham going up to to the bus driver going, there's going to be, all the black people are going to be sitting on a bus tonight. And he's like, not on my bus, they won't. And he's kind of reversing that.
Yeah, the negative stuff is
what
pushed to make sure the event continues to happen. Well, I mean, we'll get into that.
I mean, I was going to say, it's very much, like, I think when the episode when it was coming up this week, there was a thing we noticed where there weren't any episode reviews. There was like one. We found one. And that was terrifying. Like, is it all under embargo because it's bad, or does no one want to touch this? What's wrong with it? And people were saying things like, oh, it's a bit preachy and stuff. I'd say there's one scene where I was like, that dialogue's on the nose. But apart from that, but even if it is, if you were to think, if you take a step back and go, oh no, wait, it's aimed at children, then then yes, it's fine. It's absolutely nails it. And I think that this is fingers crossed, this is the episode. I mean, from the moment the TARDIS landed in the alleyway, I was so happy. And then the Doctor pokes her head out and it's like, oh, it's arrived. Oh, the show's here. Like the first 2 episodes, I forgot how much you missed the Doctor and the TARDIS as like the piece of the show. And just from that moment onwards, I was like, oh no, this is perfect. Keep going. This is going to be a good 50 minutes.
There's not so much for me to add here because I feel like it's all been summed up pretty well by you three. That is probably maybe the best episode of Doctor Who I've watched in absolutely years. I thought it was incredible. I thought the team were perfectly utilised. Yeah. Everyone felt important, which is quite an achievement given that you've only got like 50 minutes of television to make 4 characters and have Rosa Parks, all these other characters, obviously your antagonist as well. I still feel like Yaz needs a little bit more, but I wasn't worried about that in this episode. No. I feel like obviously if they tried that this episode, it would have gotten too busy. But it looks like we're getting that next week, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm with Dan in that I love the music. And I think all of us want a copy of the soundtrack
now,
please,
now, please.
But I also
think
Series
10. We'll have Series 11.
Just skip it.
Yeah.
Which will really annoy people. Never release Series 10.
But I would also say that it was a little bit too loud. I feel like maybe they could have turned it down a little bit.
Like in the mix, you mean?
Yeah.
Itself.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
It probably wasn't anything to do with saying that, but it was probably something in the sound mixing where it just felt like it was cranked up a little too high in some moments. Where it just I couldn't hear. I felt like I had to lean in a little bit just to hear what they were saying. Just a couple of times. I'm
going to play devil's advocate and say it might again be my shit sound system.
But that's not a problem we've encountered before with this.
I think we had issues in episode 1. We came out of episode 1 saying, well, I'm not sure about how things sounded.
Was that more with the theme?
It was with the theme. But I'd also say I didn't have that problem. To be a tricky person and be like, you're wrong because I heard it differently. I'm going to say you're wrong because I heard it differently. The only thing I thought was a bit odd was every time the bad guy showed up, you just had the same. The racist is coming.
Space races.
Which sounded great. I mean, at one point, like when he reveals him standing outside his car, in front of his car, like that comes in and it's like interrupting the rest of the music. It sounds like, and it's like, okay, maybe they could have held off on that one.
Well, there was a few points from the episode actually where. So we're talking about music now, but there was a moment in the episode where Ryan is having a conversation with Rosa before he leaves the house after the meeting, and he Sagan has mixed Ryan's theme and I'm assuming Rosa's theme for the episode.
Yeah, this sort of.
Yeah, because it was like. No.
I think that for me was just a little loud in place. I think that was the bits that the trumpet or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think that was the part.
It was very much.
Proud
kind of
yeah.
sound. But I liked that he changed the soundscape to match the era.
It fitted the 1950s American setting.
Yeah.
And with an episode with so much comedy, still just
no comedy music.
No clown music.
No clown music. It's just things were just funny, and we didn't need to be told that it was funny by music.
I thought the setting for this episode as well was like the location shooting. Just made it look like the most expensive thing the most expensive episode I've seen of Doctor Who for quite a while as well.
Where was this one shot?
This was South Africa.
This was filmed back to back with last week.
Oh yes, because I remember this is where set pictures started to leak to the internet, wasn't it? Because they couldn't avoid people out there going, "What's this being filmed?"
Having that opening scene on the bus, and then we have the shot where the TARDIS materializes.
Yeah.
Already, it had established itself as like, if not high budget, something that looks high budget.
Yeah.
And seeing the TARDIS materialize in that moving shot, it got me just as excited.
I was so
as you
excited.
Yeah.
I was like,
I could feel you giggling next to me.
I was just like, oh, it's Doctor Who's on. Doctor Who's here.
Have we had it done like that ever in the modern? I know we've had like sort of zoom in,
shots.
sort of like from low angles, things like that.
We've had, but we've never had a shot.
We're just
I'm going to
continuously continued, and then it just kind of
I'm going to straight up say it. That's the most beautiful materialization shot we've ever had in the series. It's never looked that good, and that was when I was like, oh god.
It's also the beauty that
who's landing her TARDIS? She's
diddly dum, here she is.
For Phoenix as well, it opened up with the titles, no pre-titles. It's like the title sequence pulls you into the world.
That made me very happy.
I hope that continues. Long may it continue. It's a nice change.
It's lovely.
Because I was worried if we weren't doing that, then we would lose that opening kind of warm with the sinkhole.
Yes.
That's what I'm choosing to call it.
The sinkhole.
Sinkhole warm.
Shall we just open this up at this point, and I mean, what do we want to talk about here?
Okay, so bad guy.
Okay, yeah.
Let's talk baddie.
He's totally effective for the story. There was a lot of problems, people saying, oh, he's just Captain Jack, but not as charming. Wasn't it? Not charming.
Charming.
There's another one.
Oh, don't you remember those scenes when he throttled people to death charmingly?
I think it's just because he is a vortex manipulator.
Yeah, he's obviously he's a time agent, right?
I appreciate that it's still like calling back to the
well,
world as well, because you're a vortex manipulator.
But also you have the storm cage.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
So it's like...
So you've got two little shorthands that in the immediate moment is, oh, that's how he time travels, and he's from prison.
Yeah.
And they're both tiny little nods that don't drag everything toward them, drag the attention. It's just, we all, at those sort of moments went,
yeah, it was like, oh, that's true.
That's how you do callbacks that don't try to drown everyone in nostalgia or that weird inclusive, like, we get this sort of thing. It's just a nice little, oh, wow.
And it's a nice moment for, say,
Artron Energy, the mention of Artron Energy, again, a long-running kind of
lovely throwback.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Doctor reading like the projected screen on the console, going, "Sorry, it's a new interface. It takes a while to get used to these." Wonderful, like awareness of how the show works, but not being fourth wall breaking.
Oh, it was nice seeing the time space visualizer again.
Yeah.
Just as part of that wall display of the lights, it's just there. That was really cool. It was like, oh yay!
So yeah,
watch the Beatles on it.
As far as the bad guy is concerned, yeah, you could argue he's one note, but I argue all racists are.
Certainly a lot of them, at least.
And his demise, his end. His end.
So, okay. I wonder if there will be like more of a telling off from the Doctor on that. Just because...
Well, he wasn't necessarily killed by Riot.
He's stranded elsewhere.
He's
I feel like
stranded
it would
elsewhere.
be a bit...
They say that it could be fatal, like if done improperly.
Yes.
But I think the reason they hammed up that repeatedly throughout the it was the thing he's going, the Chekhov's gun, wasn't it?
It wasn't so
that's
good.
going to be used at some point by a character who shouldn't be using it. So I think they were I think they were explaining as much as they could, so that you just took it in that it's not killing people.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's displacing things.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the moment where she uses it so he loses all of his gear.
Yes.
First of all, like he shoots his own gear into the future.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And once again, it's a great example of the Doctor using someone's weapon against them.
Yeah. And then in a long way around it, even that's what Ryan does as well. You know, he's using his weapon against him. And it's nice to have a bad guy kind of hoist by their own petard.
Yeah. And he was like obviously racist, but like he was nasty. The way I can't remember the actor's name, but the way he played it was great, because it was like, you're intimidating, you are a nasty piece of work, but most of all, you are a nasty piece of work who likes being a nasty piece of work.
And if he didn't have an inhibitor in his head, he would have strangled the Doctor.
Yeah, and I like how she used that just to sort of just rile him up even more, so he'd keep talking.
Yeah.
Like she allowed herself to be like throttled because she knew he wasn't going to go through with it.
Yeah.
And it would just make him angry, and he'd keep going on, and he'd give away just enough. And it was like, God damn it, Jodie, you are brilliant. That's I've got to say, like I've felt like she's the Doctor for the last 2 weeks. I've sort of had that vibe. That's the scene where I went, there she is.
Yeah, she's landed.
Like that's it. She's arrived. Like this is the Doctor. It's usually a couple of episodes in where you get that moment where you go, oh,
yeah.
Now I've felt it, and that scene for me was that. I was like putting the Doctor in a room against a despicable villain, and she just completely outwits and outthinks him.
Yeah.
And it's like, there she is.
That's the one.
There you are, tiny doll, which I really have to buy. Every time I look at it when I come here, I'm like, I want one. So I might have to buy one. Or just steal this one while you're not looking and distracted by another topic. Like, for example, Dan, what did you think of Graham's shoes? Well, I love this cast.
Yeah,
I love them a lot.
There was a moment. I think it's the moment where you're back in the room, the hotel room, and they've like got an entire wall, and they've been writing things on the wall and the jokes about Banksy. So perfectly timed, accidentally, alongside the shredding of the girl with balloon painting.
Yeah.
Brilliantly done.
It does feel like a doctory thing to happen, so I'm not putting it past her.
Yeah.
Who's the yellow Banksy? Of course not.
Or
am I?
I love
Just
it.
Beautifully done.
She played it so well. But them in the hotel room working as a unit. And it felt like they were all part of this team, and they were all contributing, and they were, and we saw it. And then them on the bus having to be quiet at the end.
That's what I was going to touch on before. Like I love how they don't shy away from how horrible like what happened was, but it had to be that way for her point to be as strong as it was, and to inspire everybody in that in the town, so that the next week action begins to happen in relation to it. Like they don't shy away from it, and I think the characters we have, obviously, like the different ethnicity of the characters, and Grace obviously like being a big part of two of those characters' lives prior to the events of episode 1, has really informed them in a way that this was the best sort of setting for the show's this is the show setting. Here are our characters who go on the journeys. This was the best place to tell a story like this.
Yeah,
yes.
Having it this, because at first I was a little uncertain about having a story like that's tackling racism this early on in the series. Usually you wait for the viewers to get comfortable with it and then start throwing your experimental and dark stuff later. Yeah. But this is great because it allows the characters, because they're totally informed by Grace, and that's still fresh in Ryan and Graham's mind, so it's made them have to talk about it and address it.
And it helps them deal with it. Like there is that wonderful scene where Graham's like, "Oh, I wish she was here. She'd love this." And then it cuts to Ryan. It's like, "Oh, I don't. She'd have a blooming riot."
Yeah.
It's it's perfect.
God. I mean, the circumstances they're in. Like, first off, I love the fact that it has sort of brought Yaz and Ryan a bit closer together in terms of the bantering, because you almost forget, because the whirlwind of the press and the build up to the series, like, oh, these are our main characters, these are the Doctor's friends. You forget that these two don't really know each other. They went to school together. They've just been through two really random, bizarre circumstances, like sort of adventures. But then they have that sit down moment where they talk about how horrible this is and how like things have changed, but this stuff still exists. And it's such a wonderful moment between them, because Yaz tries to essentially calm Ryan down a little by being like, you know, you deal with this all the time. It's not right that you have to, but think about how different it is. And like, you know, we still deal with it. We deal with new versions of this, and we still deal with like versions of what we're seeing here. But like, what happens here, what meant to happen in the next 2 days, begins a change that hopefully will continue to change and inspire going forward. That's handled so well. But also, massive props to BBC Wales and to Mallory Blackman and to Chibnall and to you know, everybody involved in the decision making for allowing this episode to go out the way it did, for sticking to their guns on this one.
I was going to say, like you had all the slurs.
Yeah, and all the racial slurs in there.
It's horrible.
Not like reworded or tweaked in any way, and definitely not played up to be like and that's down to the actors' performances and the direction as well. Not played in any way to be a novel thing. No. To be like, oh, this is the setting we're in. It's like,
look how shocking and edgy we're being. There was none of that.
It's like, we want you to feel how horrible this is.
And I think as well that's nice after spending 2 weeks with these characters, and you get to know them and like them. And I know there's kind of mixed bag on Ryan. People have mixed feelings on Ryan. I really like him. I find him very, very endearing. And so for that moment where he gets slapped in the face, it's shocking.
Yeah. Oh god, and then how he describes how he wanted to react.
Yes.
Later on, and you sort of realise, like, do you know what? Like, because he's sort of the kid of the group, and then Yaz are the same age, aren't they? But
but I feel like Yaz is more mature.
And obviously, like, Ryan's got more that he has to deal with in terms of himself and everything. So, I admired him a lot in that moment when he was just like, I wanted to smack him back so hard, and you realise how much control he had to put over himself in that moment. You're just like, oh god damn it, you're growing. Like, we've known you 3 weeks and already like we're seeing you kind of like tackling stuff that you never thought you'd have to, and be a lot more adult than you ever thought you had to be in such a short space of time.
I really appreciate how hostile you're made to feel. Throughout that episode, especially at the beginning, they're constantly being told, you can't do that, you can't sit here. Like you never felt welcome, whereas like in the past, when they're going into the past, there's a lot of, oh, come and explore, have a look at all these interesting things.
Isn't the past fascinating?
Yeah, look, it's the Globe Theatre.
Yeah. Oh, good old JK. But like that moment where Brian gets off the bus to follow Rosa for a moment, just like he wants to get some answers, and he leaves, and it's only after he goes it sort of dawns on them and us, like, is he going to be safe?
Yeah, because you've been told earlier about a boy that's been murdered.
Yeah. And that's so different, because like you say, normally it's like, oh, where's Rose gone now? She's off here doing this, or you know what I mean? Like, oh, maybe snogging the nearest person. Nearly said a different word. God, imagine if this episode had been written in the previous era. But yeah, it's there is the threat is tangible. And it's not the villain; it's the complete setting of everything. I'm still.
It's washing over like waves.
I feel like we have to watch it again just to be sure.
I tell you what, in real time.
I tell you what, like the last couple of episodes, I've always felt a little bit weird about. Like, I'm still not entirely sure what to make of it. I've always felt like I need to watch that again to be sure. Yeah. This time around, I want to watch it again because I really enjoyed it, and I want to watch it again for that reason alone.
It's not about getting a vibe. It's just like, no, I would like to watch this again now.
Sign me up. Yeah.
With my eyes.
I'm really fond of.
That's what that was.
Of like, this is like a reintroduction in a way to obviously dealing with time travel, but also it was a nice way of. It feels like it's based entirely around the Rickles speech. Which is very much about, you know, small things have big effects, and it's all about that because the guy is trying. I forgot his name. He's got a boring name.
No, she didn't like it.
Yeah, she didn't like it. So,
Evil, bad, racist man.
evil, time racist.
I mean, to be fair, you don't need all those words to sum him up, really.
just racist.
Yeah. You don't need the first 3 words. Then.
I'm bad.
But his plan was just to knock things a little bit, and it reintroduces that entire concept, but in reverse.
But also, again, not for some sci-fi plan.
Yeah.
Like he suggests when the Doctor confronts him on it that it's purely an act of racism.
Yeah.
Like he believes that like the universe went to as far as he's concerned when like equality started to be tackled properly.
Yeah.
And the segregation stuff like was changed. He believes that is when things went, and you're like, what do you mean when things went to? Oh, you're that kind of person.
Yeah.
And then they make it really on the nose with him in his last scene.
Yeah.
Rightly so, because then you get the nice of him being shot into the past. It's like, yes, okay, great. Like, but it's. I mean, that's. I'd say that's like different for Doctor Who, but it's not, because like Doctor Who's biggest villains are basically metal racist tank monsters.
Yes.
The
most politically charged sci-fi aliens in, I would say, ever.
Yeah.
Right there.
Look at him. Look at those cuddly.
Cuddly Nazis!
We shouldn't be laughing at that.
But like this is obviously a lot more, like direct.
Yeah.
And has a human face. And
yes.
You can see it,
I
and
think
you have seen it in real life, and it's uncomfortable and satisfying when he doesn't get his way.
Yeah.
And the fact that none of them ever stoop to just sort of like screaming at him is brilliant.
Yeah.
Like
No-
again,
no-
shows
no physical-
intellect above like aggression. Yeah.
No physical violence either. They just shoot him back to the past.
Yeah.
And it also allows us. I think he's formidable enough that if he came back, it would be effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost kind of don't want him to just because he's self-contained to this one.
Yeah.
But you're right. You could do something with him again, and it would be like, oh, okay, we actually feel a bit freaked out here now.
Yeah.
Because he's definitely he's a dangerous man who is
if
forced to not be dangerous.
And if he gets that thing removed, then
it stops being a kids show.
Yeah.
He just starts bludgeoning everyone to
it's
death.
And if he was to return and he has that thing removed, and he's tracking down Ryan, you'd be terrified for Ryan.
Yeah,
It'd be super effective. I don't want that to happen. Well, I just want good TV.
You like good TV. You like watching these actors play these characters in conflict.
Yes.
I want to find out the name of the actor who played Rosa Parks because she was astounding.
She was in 42.
Was she?
Yes.
Yeah.
She has like one line of dialogue and it's turned into an ash. She's
yes! Oh!
So she's been utilised perfectly in both episodes.
Oh. So Rosa Parks was played by Vinette Robinson.
Vinette Robinson.
Vinette Robinson. And one of these websites that gave me that name is here's the lowdown on the actor, and it's just a lot of ads. Perfect casting.
Yeah.
As an actor, I always appreciate when people really nail an accent, especially if it's an accent that can be quite laughable, because it seems almost cartoonish to British ears. But no, authentic as hell, nailed it. And also, like, you felt the weight of everything she was dealing with through, not even through what she was saying. Like, the script allowed the room for the actress, for Vinette, to carry it all here. And it was sort of like a mix of her and the music at whatever level it was in that moment. But like those two things seem to do the majority of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
I think for Rose's sort of emotional process and everything. And it was, I mean, is Andy Pryor still casting the show?
Yeah, he is. He's in the credits.
I think he's the
Gotta clap for Andy Pryor.
Andy
Pryor.
The cinematography as well. Beautiful.
Yes.
Like we mentioned the TARDIS landing shot earlier. There's some great moments, especially with them in the TARDIS. It looks better lit this episode. Looks a bit brighter. I'm actually quite fine with it being a bit more dingy, but I understand people's complaints there. And
This is colourful, and we saw the rotor move up and down.
it does go up and down. And Overall, like cinematography-wise, continues to be beautiful, really well done. And we had another scene this episode where the Doctor faces down a bad guy in super close-up.
Yes.
That seems to just be part of the shooting script.
I did feel like this. I did feel like this episode, he pulled that back a bit more for most of the shots. Apart from that scene,
That one.
it felt. Apart from the
like when she walks out of focus.
Yeah,
and
there's a
back
couple of
in
times.
focus.
Oh,
Yeah.
there she is.
That was the storyboard.
Yeah.
Whoa! There she is.
But I was never like unsure about exactly where things were.
No.
But it's just they really, or at least that director in particular, loves its close-ups. But it felt more obvious in the second episode, whereas this one, it felt like there was more mid-shots. I felt like there was only sort of a couple of scenes which were real close-ups. So I think he improved on whatever he did in episode 2 in terms of those sort of.
Mark Tonderay. It's a Radio 1 DJ.
For reals. For realsies.
Very politically charged episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think you had a good idea that every episode we're checking in on the agenda, see how that's going.
Yeah, by the way, when we talk about PC-ness in the show, that's not us saying, oh, it's there and evident. Like, people had a go at us in episode 1.
I think one or two people
and
misconstrued it a bit.
And no, that's not. We don't believe that. What we're doing is just kind of thinking, what could people's arguments be against it? The thing I've noticed over all 3 episodes, especially going back and rewatching them, is there was a press release earlier on in the year where Chibnall said he wanted it to be educational for the family. There's definitely that, but it's also based around asking questions. After episode 1 came out, people were worried that there's a lot of questions in this. People were constantly asking questions to each other. But actually, as it's gone on, each of those questions pertains to the plot and the narrative, and it's ask a question to find out an answer and learn something about the world, and it's very much a good outlook on life. And again, for younger audiences, if you're upset that I said it's a children's show, then fine. For younger members of the family watching, it's important to ask questions about difficult issues, and I'm glad Doctor Who did that in episode 3. I'm just annoyed that it took them 13 years.
Without like saying too much or giving too much away, I put a tweet out as soon as the episode finished, just saying I think it was one of the best episodes of the last 10 years, if not the best one. And the reactions I've had have been interesting, but a big sector of people are responding saying nothing happened, or it was dire, or it was just a bunch of people sitting on a bus. I've had those responses. To those people, because a couple of them have also said like it's terrible, it was bad Doctor Who, what are you talking about? I'll say this: the show's original objective, which has remained true to the heart and soul of it ever since, has been education and entertainment. In that it's about science and history and human interaction and social issues and racial issues and big debates, like recontextualized into science fiction, like all the great sci-fi shows do, like Star Trek: The Next Generation. Everyone was, in the 80s, like, this is better than Doctor Who, and it's like, is that because it's doing what Doctor Who used to do but better, with a better budget and better scripts by this point? Yes, that's why. Like, this was a very Doctor Who episode.
It was 100, yeah.
It was very much airing on the side of the origins of the show and the show it used to be in the 60s, but told through the modern prism of the Revive show. So I don't understand the criticism that nothing happened.
Well, on that,
I don't get that.
Well, see, because here's the thing: the whole episode is when they realise what's going on. The whole idea is we've got to make sure nothing happens. That's the point.
Yeah.
That is the point.
Oh yeah, in terms of the plot, that is
it's exactly the point. But then there was the moment when there was a line of dialogue. Rosa says, like, Yaz goes, "Oh, shouldn't you be catching the bus?" And Rosa says, "Oh, I can walk from here." And it was like, she could just walk home from here and not ever get on the bus. And you said it then. It's like, this is the tensest thing for nothing happening ever.
Yeah,
it was. That's.
I've never been so like gripped to the side of the. I was like this over someone taking a bit too long sewing a coat.
Yeah.
Or
because
just
it was
not
like,
enough people being on a bus.
Yeah.
Like 1 or 2 people not being able to.
like Ryan running up and down the street, just like taking down the signs that have been put up and everything. Because that was the thing, like the villain's tactics at that point for the actual thing were flat out sort of like Dennis the Menace prankster kind of things.
That he's even dressed as like a mechanic. Like, no, this bus
Yeah,
won't
yeah,
work.
this ain't
No,
working.
sorry.
Let's go as disguises out.
And then even just later, when he finds one of them fixing stuff, he does a proper evil thing like, Go. If only he had his fist up like,
I'll get you for this.
Do you know what this was? This was a 2018 version of the Time Meddler.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Albeit with a much more sort of frightening antagonist
Just mature
motivation.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's,
like,
it's absolutely
what it
a
was.
Time Meddler story. Yeah,
It's like, you know, he dressed up like a monk. This guy briefly dresses up like a mechanic.
Yeah.
Goes, your bus is knackered, man. I mean, your bus is knackered, yours. I do like the fact that he was American, and then like you heard his real voice. It's like he's a British villain. Of course, he's a British villain. Space Brits and racism.
exactly, for something that apparently doesn't happen, but there's
There's so
proper
much going
just
on.
like
Yeah.
tense. But again, it's tense for when you think when you sort of say what the tense thing. If you told someone this,
Yeah.
they'd think doesn't sound very tense.
Well, that's
You-
why-
you
that's-
really have to view it to understand.
It's an experience.
Yeah.
And you have to be invested in the characters and the world and everything, and I think this series has done the best job in 8 years of investing me in the show.
I was wondering if maybe we could talk about the end, and by the end,
Okay, so this is the first time I believe it's Earthshock where the show has ended without the Doctor Who theme, right?
Yes.
So
I can't think of any other
this
one
is-
other than Thingy.
as a result, this is the spiritual sequel to Earthshock.
yes,
Yes,
confirmed.
confirmed. Also historical in places.
Yeah, the dinosaurs.
The dinosaurs are in it and they die. So, talk about killing dinosaurs with this episode. So you have a lovely modern song in it, and when it started playing, I loved it. But in the back of my head, part of me was like, "They're going to hate it."
Yeah, I could feel some eyes rolling at that. Not my own,
No.
but I immediately think, oh yeah, people got really, really unnecessarily annoyed about the pop music in the trailers in the marketing campaign.
Even though the lyrics to this song perfectly matched what was going on and the vibe
Yeah.
of the scene.
Yeah,
But
Like,
let's
this is
ignore
great.
all
It's
that.
like Vincent and the Doctor, isn't that?
it's got a pop song in it.
Right there.
Well done, Dan.
So yeah,
But yeah, the pop song. So it goes through the credits, which surprised me, but was fine. And then there was a lovely little ad on the BBC. If you watched it on the BBC account, with an ad for the women who lived, which was
Gotta clap for that.
Clap for
Sin-
Crystal Day.
Sincerely, we're not. This isn't an Earthquake reference.
available in all good bookshops.
It's
Do
a lovely
buy
book.
it.
It's beautiful.
Some of your friends have worked on it, including Crystal.
Wonderfully written. Gloriously illustrated.
Yes, I work with 2 people who helped illustrate the book.
We're not endorsed. We just like nice people who make things.
Yes, absolutely. And then that music, of course, continues into the next time trailer. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't decide to like have that fade out and just have some generic epic music like they were doing for series 8, 9, and 10. But I think they're very concerned and want to make sure that they will have the theme tune there normally every week. So fine, the next time trailer continues with this new upbeat song and it ends with a man going ah ah ah.
It's like piano chords. It was one of the most unintentionally funny things I've seen. Like 2 out of 3 of these episodes so far have ended with all of us just laughing at it because it's just a really strange decision making.
in the post credits. So it's never an issue with the episode.
Yeah.
That's 100% not the episode's problem. But someone in the post has gone, at the end of episode 1, we need a minute over half of everyone looking a little bit
A
concerned.
minute and a half of the middle 8 being edited to balls, and everyone going. And we'll send out printed cards for the mums and dads to go, oh yeah, I recognise that. Oh yeah, I remember that. Oh yeah, they were in that. Oh yeah, oh. Which was a smart decision, I think.
Yes.
But bloody funny.
Yes.
It's like they've gotten a shot of all the actors being told, oh, we've got an issue regarding your pay. And you just shot the reaction
In
there.
slow motion, just.
I mean, in fairness, I know that was a joke we made after episode 1. In fairness, those shots have actually appeared in the show, in the episodes where they've appeared.
It's just been extended.
It's just really funny.
It's some kind of morbid tweaking of the old sitcom.
Yeah, I feel like, again, I'm just really happy of the way it turned out, and I'm sure people will be very angry in the comments, because how could an episode like this have people not be angry at it? But I honestly, I think that this is the episode where they've really kind of gone, this is where we're going with it. And if every week is like this, you know, it will have up and downs. Every series does. But episode 1 I found really strong, but this is the one where I was just in the ride. I was on the roller coaster, and I loved it.
And now we prepare for a screaming man.
Thank you for watching. Join us next week where we'll be talking about arachnids in the UK.
I'll be played by a different person.
Yeah, Chris will be played by a woman.
Finally, I'm FiveWhoFans. Who'd have thought
It's
it?
about time, hashtag.
And I'm sure we'll see Chris again at some point during the series.
If he's lucky.
Oh.
Don't want him.
Oh.